No mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Next podcast. I'm here on Gadigal land in Sydney, as is Danny, and we have Erin in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. Welcome along. We'll have two matches to talk about today. We'll talk about the Ferns versus PNG, the final for the Oceania World Cup qualifiers, and then we will talk about our men versus Western Sydney Wanderers in Christchurch. We'll start with the Ferns. We somehow scrape out a 1 win. To be fair, PNG have a lot of tenacity. They didn't really go forward much, but they did defend very tenaciously, and their keeper was also very good. So credit to them on that. But I counted more than 20 shots. Thankfully, this game didn't have an XG generated by FootMob or anything like that, because I say we're looking at an XG of like 6 or 7 maybe. You can let me know what you guys think the XG would have been had it been calculated. Honestly, it was extremely poor in attack, just unbelievably. We were so shocking. We could not score tap-ins. There was one player in particular who was the biggest culprit of that, but, we had other people who... It was a spread across the team. Someone should be scoring. The only person who did score was Katie Kitching with a header in the 56th minute. It's a 1-0 win. I'm supposed to be, as a fan, excited that we're going to the World Cup next year, but I was just like, actually the overwhelming feeling was like one of disappointment with how poor our attack was. Erin, why don't you get us started? What do you think the XG should have been for that game had it been calculated?
I think I probably saw about 5 goals that should have gone, and I think they were empty net, basically tap-ins, and then the rest was... I think we kind of made the keeper look good by shooting it right at her, but we had far too many opportunities to only come away with a 1-0 win there. And it was on a pretty miserable night, to be honest, like a Wednesday night. The traffic was rough. The game was kind of dead. Like, it was the first game back in Auckland since the opening game of the World Cup, and the crowd, I think we were just kind of shocked that we hadn't scored more, and I think we wasted our 2 cheers on 2 offside calls, and then another 10-minute long VAR check in the middle of the game, and it kind of killed any kind of buzz that was going on for that game. And I think that at the end of the game, we came away with the win. We got that World Cup qualification, but it was just such a poor performance that I couldn't be excited about it, just knowing that we are going into a World Cup playing like that, where we haven't really improved from our last World Cup. It doesn't look like we have any direction at all. I think the team selection and the team substitutions were pretty shocking as well. I think we're trying to score goals, and instead of putting on probably our top goal scorer for the tournament, we put on someone who's only scored 2 goals in 47 games for the Ferns. Overall, I just think that a lot of work has to go in to make sure that we can actually be competitive at this World Cup. And it was almost a case of, I'd rather we lost that game and then have to have a shake-up of what's happening in the system, have a wake-up call saying that, we don't get easy qualification. We've had it too easy for too long now. We actually have to do something to try to earn our spot and show that we deserve to be there, because that was not a fun watch. And I don't really know where they go from here.
It seems strange that we forget that we won. We're going to the World Cup. We've qualified. They did their job. And yet, when I saw them celebrating afterwards in front of that big sign that says, "Hey, we're off to Brazil in 2017," it just felt wrong. I just felt wrong, because I was so disappointed and so pissed off at that game. I've never felt like that at a game that I've won. I mean, it was just bizarre. But the finishing was spectacularly poor. I mean, it really was. I mean, I was laughing at some point, because they're just taking the piss. How many they missed. And there was, you say your XG, I'm not very good at calculating XG, but there was probably at least 5 times where it was easier to score than it was to miss. So I don't know, there must be an opposite of XG, but that was going to be high as well, because just, if you'd have said, try and not hit the goal from here, not many players would have been able to do it, and yet we did it time and time again. And, okay, it's fine because we won in the end. We did get a goal in the end, but we had 20 to 30 chances to score goals. When we're playing teams who are actually not from the islands, who are half decent, we don't get 20, 30 chances to score. We get 2 or 3. So that means on that sort of level, we're going to play 10 games before we score a goal if you play the stats. So just awful. And I don't think, other than the finishing, I don't think we were too bad. I actually thought, attacking wise, we created all these chances. And often that can be difficult against a decent side who's good at defending and put a lot of people back, which obviously PNG did, which the island teams always do. Sometimes we struggle to break them down, but we were breaking them down. We were getting good crosses in. We were, going to byline. Our players looked really good until it came to standing in front of the goal and actually hitting the target, and then it all fell apart. So I think, other than the finishing, it wasn't a bad performance, but obviously the finishing was just right up there, or right down there as being some of the worst you'll ever see. I mean, in terms of the team, it seems strange that, we left goal scorers on the bench. So Kelly Brown, Millie Clegg on the bench. It's like, why are they there? If we're 2 goals up at half-time, take them off, And yet we put him on and we're chasing goals then, and then we scored from actually a bizarre effort. Well, not bizarre, just not the most obvious way to go there. So Kenny Kitchen header. So it was strange, and as you say, Aaron, pretty deflating, because we're going to be going to the World Cup playing teams who are going to be a lot better than PNG. All respect to them, who I don't think were too bad, to be honest. They did all they could, and if we can't score goals, and it looks like we can't score goals, we're not going to get very far. We're not going to get out of that group. We're not going to get any kind of result, I don't think. So you're right. Something needs to change. They need to change the way they play. They need to find someone who can score goals. Easier said than done, but I think we've definitely got people in the squad and in the wider sort of football community. I think it will probably be better than that. But strange feeling to come away from a game where they've done everything they were told to do in terms of qualifying. Are we going to a World Cup? It's going to be great, even though it's a long time away. The finishing was just abysmal. Just abysmal.
Is there, because I mean, Erin, you said that the issue is, because we've qualified, there's an incentive potentially to not change how we're going. Imagine we're sticking with Michael May, whereas perhaps not qualifying directly would have been a bit of a kick in the pants. But, I mean, the issue is, because we perform so poorly, are we hoping that the powers that be, that Michael May go, okay, we qualified, but that was not good enough, nowhere near good enough, we're going to have a shake-up? Do you expect them to coast on, we qualified anyway, never mind? Or do you expect that to be a real kick in the butt of, like, we cannot play like that, we cannot shoot like that, it's not acceptable to have that many shots and score 1 goal?
I'm not really sure what you do, though, because I think if you kind of look on paper, that's almost our, some of our best squad that we'll have available for us for a World Cup. Maybe some of those are kind of fringe ferns who you can trade in and out. But I think if you look at the main squad, those are probably the ones that we'll take. So, what do we do with them? Do we need we need more games. We need more competitive games at our level. We don't want to play USA again where we don't see the ball and get destroyed 10-0, even though Michael Main says we got what we wanted from those games. And we don't really want to be playing against, some of these Oceania teams that aren't quite up for it. I mean, this is an exception, I think, because I think maybe we didn't go in with the mindset that it'll actually be a tough game. I think we maybe thought it was a walkover, and maybe that kind of impacted them. But yeah, I was kind of watching that, and I don't know who out there looked like they were fighting for their spot on the team. A lot of people kind of looked like they were just not really putting it all on the line to win this game. We got a World Cup at stake, and it just didn't seem like they really cared. I don't know, maybe it was just me from the sideline thinking that I could probably score some of those chances. Give me the shirt and I'll go out there and play my heart out. But it was just a hard watch, and I don't really know what to do about it, because this has been the case for years upon years upon years, and I haven't seen it change. And I don't know what New Zealand football can do to make it change, because if we continue this way, then the team's just not going to go anywhere.
It is difficult, and other than fast-tracking Michaela Wood's citizenship application, I'm not completely sure where we go from. But they have to do something, because and I'm sure there will be there's no way they've watched that and gone, yeah, this is acceptable just because we've fulfilled our KPI of getting to the World Cup. They're not stupid. They've seen that game. You could see the players themselves when the final whistle went. They were looking pretty sheepish. Do we celebrate? Do we jump up and down? They know. They know. There's poor powers to be. The coaching powers will know that as well. What they do about it? Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe it's a massive shake-up. Maybe we just bring in players we've never brought in before. Whether that's from the A-League, whether that's from National League, US universities, I don't know. But yes, they've got to do something or we'll get well beaten. I think playing as many games as can is obviously a good thing, and playing teams of the right level, which means sort of the mid-level, so not the islands where it's like if you miss a goal, it doesn't matter because there's going to be another chance coming along, and not maybe the USA's where it's like you've got one chance and that's it, and if you miss that, it's all over. But your mid-level games where we will have a reasonable amount of play, but chance is still at a premium, so you've got to get it. So again, all easier said than done, but that is the job of New Zealand football. So.
I mean, I think we will be. One of the great things about hosting a World Cup is you get go in pot one. And so you don't actually have a group with all of the very, very top teams. And so we didn't have a team like USA or Spain or Germany in the last World Cup because we were in pot one. We are a team that is usually in pot four. So I know we do need to focus on playing opposition that is about right for us, maybe a small stretch. But the thing is, next World Cup, we will have a team like that in our group. But do we really, is it helpful to play that?
I mean, it'll help our defence, but it doesn't help our attack at all.
Which is the problem.
Yeah, and if you're playing the top teams, we're going to lose anyway. Let's be realistic about it. The teams we need to beat to finish second or third in that group to get through the group, but other teams are that probably a little bit above us. In quality, so your middling sort of European sides or what have you, or maybe your South American sides, they're the ones we need to learn how to beat. Which means we are going to get some chances against them. We just need to make sure we can put those away.
Yeah, considering last time that we got grouped out of the World Cup because we lost to Philippines. We beat Norway. No one thought we were going to beat Norway, but we beat Norway. We drew with Switzerland. Those were the two that were the higher ranked teams, and then we fell when it came to a opposition who was more at our level. If we can scrape through results against the teams that pot P, pot C, then we get second, and then we're the underdogs there. They're playing to beat us, whereas we don't want to keep playing these top tier teams and just kind of ruin any chance we have to build cohesion in the team and to actually see our team play proper football without just having to defend the whole time and lose 5-0 every time. We want to actually be able to play transition football where we get to attack and we get to defend in the same game, because that's the only way we're going to, I think, form a properly cohesive squad.
Any further thoughts?
We go to the World Cup. Hooray!
We go to the World Cup. Yay! I'm assuming that more friendlies will be announced at some stage. I hope that we can get on the FIFA, what did they call it? The little series that they've been having with 4 teams in one place. So I hope we can get ourselves on one of those, because they seem to be a good mix of playing different countries. And I just hope that whatever it is we need to do to get games, whether we are travelling, whether the other team is travelling, it just needs to happen. But we'll see when that gets announced. We'll move on to our Phoenix men. A great turnout in Christchurch. I believe the last professional sporting fixture at Apollo Project Stadium, a crowd of 11,066. So well done, Christchurch, for showing up for the Knicks and for everybody who travelled. There were many. Wanderers have finished with the wooden spoon, as have their women. They've got the double club wooden spoon, which is, I'm sure, not a very nice feeling at all, and you have to sort of think there's something wrong at the top when you get both teams finishing with the wooden spoon, especially because the Wonder Women are consistent wooden spooners or near wooden spooners. We did get the win, thankfully. Started early with Azir, who else but Azir, 16th minute. Payne plays in a cross, and it's a header. Easy as. Unfortunately, we do let them back in the game. Brandon Borrello, there's a short corner play to Thurgate. Nobody has switched on. Nobody has switched on that. The short corner has been played. Thurgate just turns and like gives it to Borello in space, and he lashes it in. That was poor. That was poor defending as far as I'm concerned. Thankfully, 56th minute, we had yet another Tim Payne cross and a Nagasawa header this time. So good work to Kazu. I think that the 92nd minute was probably the next big moment. Josh Aloemi, he said he'd gone for the Schmeichel. He'd come out, he decided that he wasn't going to be able to get to it if he stayed on his line, even though he wasn't going to get the ball to collect it. He just ran out to BK and made himself as big as possible, and that worked. So well done on that count. So 80th minute, shirts off for the Fever, and there haven't been a lot of games in Christchurch. I remember that I went to those first two games in those first two seasons in Christchurch, and it was great for them to be back. So yeah, 2-1 win. I don't know what else to say. Danny, what do you reckon?
Good solid win against a very poor side. We weren't probably actually at our best. A couple of players had quieter games than we would normally. I thought Piper was a little bit quiet than he normally was. But, we were good enough to beat them. And, you just look at the goals that we scored, which were great crosses by Payne, and I thought Payne had a really good game back to his best. But both Eze and Nagasawa were unmarked in the box. And how can you not mark Eze? How can you not mark him? He's clearly our best player. He's a top scorer in the league, and you let him stand there in the penalty spot. It's just it's criminal, absolute criminal. And that's the reason why West FC won at the bottom. They've got good players, but this season they've been dumb. And again, why that is, I've no idea. These are not bad players. And you could see that. There were occasional glimpses of class by some of them, by Kraev and by Garkovic and Fergate, but just overall the team, just poor. One thing that we've done well under Greenacre is we play as a team, and everyone gives 100%. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. And it's good enough to beat people like Western Sydney Wanderers, and it's good enough to compete against anybody. The result, even though we let them score, the result wasn't really in doubt. I always thought we'd get a second goal, just because we just looked to be pretty good, and Greenacre's just got the best out of these players. He's found a way to play, which means that he's getting 100% out of them. So players which used to disappear in matches, your Nigerines, your Retres, who sometimes you just go, oh yeah, I forgot they were playing. They're all there now. They're all involved, all committed, always there doing what they need to do, and it's really good to see. It's not spectacular. It's not roller coaster like it might have been under Chiefy, but it's good. It's just solid, good football. And when we come against teams like Wanderers, who are the complete opposite of solid, good football, we're going to beat them. So it would have been a great day down there. I'm glad we got to win down there in Christchurch, and the Christchurch people got to actually see a team, because they don't get to see their own team because they play in Auckland. And yeah, good win, good way to finish the New Zealand season, I guess.
Yeah, that was the case of like a star team versus a team of stars, where we just, played together, played well, and made it work, and basically copy and pasted our goals. And you have what they said is, Nagasawa is one of the shortest people on the pitch, and he's winning a free header. It's just been good to see them play a kind of a new style of football and kind of give some hope for next season if they give Greenie the job, because it's been a huge shift of form from the start of the season to how we've ended this season, which has been great, and it was nice to keep our finals hope alive for a couple of hours until City came along and put it out of reach. But it was nice to have something positive. But yeah, my question is that the last time we see Alex Rufer in a Knicks shirt?
So yeah, he did pick up that 8th yellow card in the 39th minute. He's played 189 games for the Wellington Phoenix. We will not be playing another one this season. In the post-match interview, they did say, you probably don't want to talk about your future at the moment. So, that's not great. But he said whatever happens, he can be proud of what he put in here at the Wellington Phoenix. And I think that's 100% true. And I think that if he has been let go, that's criminal, short of there being like a very crazy reason. We've played better with him than without him for probably 3 seasons, at least 3 seasons now. So it could be It could be the last one. On Greeny, and Danny, you said that he's getting more out of the players. They asked him as well, Greeny, in the post-match interview, what his approach has been, and he talked about simplifying, just simplifying and simplifying. And I think that's obviously, he said that's what he's done, and looking at what's happened, I think that has been the case as well, and it's brought everybody together. I don't know whether we'll be keeping Eze, though. Lots of people have been, apparently lots of clubs have been asking after him, and we have a lot of players off contract. A lot of players are coming off contract this season, so I guess potentially there's a clean out to be had if Greeny's going to continue in the role. And it's good for him to be able to go, okay, I want this person, this person, this person. Aside from Rufa and how we should have kept Rufa, who else would be like really high on your list to keep? Aside from Rufa and Azir, because I think we know what's going to happen with them. Danny?
If we can't keep Rufa, and he would be such a big loss because he's just the heart and soul of this team and a quality player as well. I mean, it's somebody you think, oh, well, he's Mr. Wellington Phoenix and he's always there and he's a captain, but he's also really quality, technically really good player and at the heart of pretty much all our attacks from midfield. So if we can't keep Rufa, I would definitely keep Nagasawa. I think he's been really good in that position. Very consistent, not overly spectacular, but just good and creates attacks. We have been missing, a creative sort of playmaker, but Nagasawa is the closest we've got, and he's just been good, so I would like to keep him if at all possible. I don't think Piper's going anywhere, and that's a good thing, because he's also good. I think Payne's got another year left in him, and again, I'm not sure. He'll be picked up elsewhere anyway, so we can probably keep him. Other than that, it's a bit tricky too. Loma, I think he's improved. I think he's got better. He seemed to struggle with the pace of the league when he first started, but he's certainly been a bit more consistent now going forward. Hughes, I would really like to keep, but in another sense, I'd also like to see him go and try somewhere else, not in Australia. In Europe, I think he's become very good as well, and it'd be hard to begrudge him to go elsewhere. I guess the people we're looking at are the people who are sort of maybe on reasonable wages. And how good it is. So we're talking your Retres, your Najirines, your Milicevic. Again, depends who you get in. I wouldn't necessarily say they've been really important, although, as I said, they have been better since Greeny's come in. I don't think Retre could take over from Rufa. I don't think he's that good. He certainly hasn't been. Although he's a decent player, and we've seen that he can be a decent player in the right formation with the right instructions, I guess. But I think there's other players out there who could probably fill the role like Retre could, and probably the same could be said of Najirine as well. Mili Usanic, we haven't really seen, so I'm not too sure about that. I still like Karma Armiento. I think he's a really useful player and doesn't seem to fit in the formation that Greeny's been playing, but I think in terms of an attacking force, he really offers something which other players haven't been, so I will potentially keep him. But yeah, we've got to... It's a tricky job. I'm glad I'm not a football manager. And Greeny, if he loses Rufa and he loses Eze, which looks like it's probably going to happen, he's got a big rebuild on his hands. And we don't know how much money he'll have to do that. There's rumours that the hard salary cap's going to be kicking in a lot more this season. So the quality of plays we can attract might be a bit lessened. So I guess Nagasawa is probably one I would definitely keep, and then there's a few around the edges that I wouldn't mind having as well.
I think all the players coming off contract, besides Rufa and Eze, I don't think a lot of them would be a huge loss. I just think, all of them leaving at once is just a bit tricky to navigate, but I feel like we navigate that every season. Sometimes we navigate it better than other seasons. But I agree that I think if we're going to keep a visa player, Nagasawa is the one to keep. He's found his way around the A-League a bit better, now that he's in his second season now. I think that he's been pretty consistent the last, part of the season. He's been delivering up some pretty good assists, and, he scored in that last game. And I think that he's just kind of been pretty consistent. I think in the first season, it was kind of like, what's he doing? Like, you kind of noticed him a lot more because he was doing the wrong things, but now he's kind of doing the right things and he's just getting the job done, which I think is usually what happens in a player's second season. They kind of get more used to the league, especially I think the Japanese players as well. It's a bit different to how they play in the leagues before. And so I think he's definitely found his way in the team, and he's been pretty solid for us. I'd like to keep him, as well as Carlo Amiento. I think he's a solid player, a wicked left boot, and I just don't want to play against him, which is why I'd rather keep him and try to utilize him in some kind of way. He hasn't really been playing much recently, but I still think that he's a pretty solid player. And I think at the start of the season, he was kind of, I think, a shining light on what was probably a poor start from us. So hopefully they find a way to kind of keep him and implement him and get him back into the system. But the others, I could take or leave. Don't really care for them.
I don't think it's a matter of they're bad, it's just they're replaceable. There are other players out in the A-League ecosystem there who could do the similar sort of job. So if they leave, well, we can probably bring someone else in. Western Sydney, if you look at the Western Sydney Wanderers, the number of out-of-contract players they've got as well, they've got a huge amount coming out of contract. Some of them very good players. I would take Kraev back quite happily if he wanted to come back over. I think he would be, I think he'd fit in as well. A bit of creativity would be decent. But I think there's going to be a lot of players moving around the A-League this year, which is fairly normal, but I think even maybe more the end of this season.
There's definitely a lot of churn, and apparently Brian Fraser from Wanderers to Sydney FC is a done deal, whereas Uffy's gone from Sydney FC to Wanderers. There's always churn, and a lot of people point to the churn as something that's a little bit frustrating because, you really want to get behind a player and then they bugger off to a team that you hate, which can make things a bit of a challenge, but that's all right. Not the end of the world. Any further thoughts on the Wellington Phoenix men? We will do a season review once we've played our next match, which I will mention is this Friday. It is versus Macarthur Bulls at Campbelltown Stadium. Kickoff 9:35 p.m. New Zealand time, 7:35 local. The Little Corner of Yellow will be there in fine voice, despite the fact that our season will be over at the end of that match. Danny, you'll be there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And we normally do well against Macarthur, so it's normally sort of entertaining. It'll be interesting to see whether Greeny gives other people a run out. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, one thing which Greeny hasn't done, which everyone expected him to, because he's academy head, is play a lot of our young players, and they really haven't had many minutes. I think he's gone, only experienced heads on here just to settle things down, and he's been proven right because of the results we've been getting. And so that will be interesting next year as well, to see whether some of the young players that we've been seeing bits of here and there actually get a bit more game time. So you Gabby Sloan Rodriguez, and Joan Loke, who started the season pretty well, I thought, but then have drifted away. We haven't seen him much. So it'll be interesting to see whether anybody like that gets a bit of a run out on Friday. I'd quite like to see them. I'd also quite like to beat Macarthur as well. And I'd like to see SA get the golden boot, so a hat-trick from him. That would be nice, just to make sure Cosgrove does.
Honestly, I don't really care about this game, if I'm being honest. The season's done. Macarthur's such a nothing team. All my focus now is on this women's semi-final coming up. And yeah, golden boot would be great for Eze. A win to finish the season would be great. But if we lose, I'm not going to cry about it.
Fair enough. So yes, tune in to or attend, if you can, the men versus Macarthur. The other interesting games coming up this weekend is the women's elimination finals. So Canberra versus Melbourne Victory. That is 4 p.m. Saturday New Zealand time, and Brisbane Roar versus Adelaide. That is 7 p.m. New Zealand time. Those matches will determine who we see in our semi-finals. The home semi has already been set as Sunday, March 10th. I think it's a early or mid-afternoon kickoff. There will be a pre-sale for, 2 p.m. kickoff. There will be a members pre-sale that goes on tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. New Zealand time, and then tickets open to everybody else. I would get in very quickly. Porirua Park will have it packed. There won't be a lot of tickets on sale, so if you're keen, get stuck in. Any further thoughts for the episode? Up the Jets.
Yeah, up the Jets. As I was about to say, congratulations to the Jets. Best team
good
in the
news
league.
Story about the weekend. Auckland didn't win the minor premiership. and potentially they could finish as low as fourth. So go Adelaide, go Sydney.
Yeah, Jets could be on for the treble, and I wouldn't mind it. Jets could be on for the treble, Australia Cup and the Premiership and the Championship, and you know what? Good on them if that's the case. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.